And when you're doing a condo conversion like we were, we had to have a vision of what we're going to do. And of course, we're going to upgrade the appearance inside and out, modernize, put a washer and dryer inside each unit, put central air in each unit, separate out all the utilities so people could control their expenses, and do everything necessary to get a retail buyer. And, we wanted to make that building just really beautiful. And it's everything from the simple to just painting the outside. We cleaned the bricks we acid washed the bricks with a muriatic acid to get that cleaned up. We removed peeling paint from the porch floor, made that pretty. We put in low cost but pretty landscaping. Put a little brick courtyard that you see down there on the lower right hand side. And we made the inside of the units really beautiful. And you can see that from the screen how nice they are. And, when you're doing a condominium conversion, again, you've got to make it so that a retail buyer will really love the place. And there are, depending on your neighborhood, there are sometimes very good markets for these things, even where someone else isn't doing it. And I think you should know that. So if you take a look at the math, we sold 11 out of 12 units so far. Total sales are $2.3 million. And that's right along with projections, because the last unit that's available has a value of $200,000, and the reason that hasn't sold is I was using it for an office, so it wasn't available for sale. It wasn't up for sale. So we've got one unit left, valued it at $200,000. Here's an interesting thing: the average sale price, which our realtors gave us, is $210,000, has thus far turned out to be $211,600 over 11 units actually sold. So that was very accurate, and I think when you do these things, it's really worthwhile to do your due diligence. Ask the realtors, ask for lots of opinions, look at the numbers yourself. And I went and looked at the other condo building. I didn't not look at it or just believe it. I took a look at it to make sure I knew, what those things were like and what they were going for. And one thing that our building was nicer about our building is that it was brand new. The other building was probably renovated in the 80s. Nice building, but renovated in the 80s and just dated. So not quite as nice.
Yeah, you always want to triangulate your data. You don't want to just go on what Ralph the realtor told you or Ronnie the realtor. You want to go and you want to look at your competition, because realistically, when people are looking for a place to live and they're going to buy a condominium, you're in a competitive environment. I know for a lot of you this is going to sound like obvious stuff, but you would be surprised at how many people trip over the obvious stuff. You want to go and you want to take a buyer's look and you want to say, all right, let's look at the competitive properties in the landscape. Let's have conversations with different realtors. And I think that the fact that the number is basically what you thought it would be up front, I think that's really reflective of good diligence work, which You're an attorney. So, I'm a finance guy, so you would expect to see a high level of due diligence, quite frankly, a high level of skepticism about numbers until we prove them to ourselves.
Yeah, because the thing is that when you're talking to the realtor or anybody else, they have vested interest sometimes in giving you a high number.
Yes.
They don't have much of an interest in giving you an accurate number because, they're not, it's not like you're paying them $10,000 to get this for you. You're just asking them in general.
Yes.
And a lot of them may think, well, maybe I'll get this listing if they sell this condominium, so I'll give them this high price. That way, they'll do the deal and get me the listing.
Yes.
And so I think what it says about, triangulating the data is exactly accurate. You want to make sure you go to several sources to take a look at that data so that you're not just relying on one source, because it's your money at the end of the day. And you'll probably be using investors' money, which we had in this project. We had other investors that put in money, and you need to make sure that you're going to do it right so that they'll be there for your next deal. And this is I would say a safe deal also, because one of the things, the reason we have this diamond rule of 2 exit strategies in order to, before you do a deal, you want to be at the point where, let's say that we decided, hey, we're going to do condominiums here, and then the market for condominiums just completely dried up, which I know a lot of times that right now people are afraid of markets.
Sure.
This building would have cash flowed even with the extra money put into it, which was very important to us that, if it didn't work out as the conversion right now because of market timing or something else, we could rent it out and at least hold its own. Doesn't mean it has to be a huge cash cow. It just means that your ship is not going to be taken down by this thing. If it's floating around and just holding its own, that's okay. But you don't want something that's going to milk you dry, that's for sure.
No, no. And by having what I call the unwilling buy and hold strategy, if you had been stuck buying and holding, you could have. And that's really what you want to look at. You want to have your exit strategies be, what if I am forced to buy and hold? And the other one's the most optimistic scenario, which is the condo conversion. And the condo conversion was always a good strategy because there were so few available in the marketplace. So you had something unique that people wanted.
There's lots of opportunity right now to do things like this because you can buy the buildings at such attractive prices. The prices have gone to old-fashioned prices, which are you buy it when and if it cash flows with the current rent roll that's in there. You aren't buying with the expectation, oh, maybe it'll go up in 3 years, or maybe rents will pop up, or maybe the building will appreciate, so I should pay more for it. There are no buyers who are buying that story right now. So you have an opportunity to go out and get the best bargains we've seen literally in decades, which I think is one of the most exciting things about investing right now is that because the buyers are not so frequent, the bargains are just fantastic.
Correct.
And the other thing for everybody to remember, big lessons here, always go into a project knowing your exit strategy. It's number one. Number two, always have two exit strategies that are workable, a resale strategy and a rental strategy. You want both. It's not enough to just have one. It makes it too risky. And third, understand that right now is a great time to be doing these kinds of deals because they provide a good return on investment. Even the best apartment building is going to provide you a 5.5% or 6% return on investment, even if you bought it retail. And those are the Class A apartment buildings. And the ones that are more like a Class B, like this one, where it's not brand new but still nice, you're talking about a return of 8, 9, 10, 11%, maybe even 12% on rents. And your bank's not going to pay you that.
Nope.
And the last thing I think is really neat is that with commercial properties, the bank doesn't care where you get your down payment and closing costs. You are allowed to borrow that money from friends and family or from other investors. It doesn't have to be your own money. You're playing within the rules when you do that. It's different from residential houses where they want to see that you are using your own money for a down payment. It's not necessary. It's not expected. When someone buys an office building, they're not saying, oh, do you have the money to put down on this? Do you have the down payment? You can go raise the money from third parties. It's fine. It's the way that business is done. So you don't have to have the cash. You may be raising money from friends and family or raising money from people that you solicit. That, of course, has its own separate set of rules. You can't just go off doing that. And in the more advanced training, we do go over what those rules are. It's far beyond what we're going to be able to do today, but just leave it at this. If you're going to go out and look for money from strangers, you need to be familiar with the rules around fundraising, and you can't just go out and do it. Not impossible to do, but you just can't. You can't just do it blindly. You can't just put an ad in Craigslist saying looking for capital. It's not. The SEC will come and chase you around if you do that. But I'd encourage you to take a look at these things. Think about doing a deal and paying for your kids' college, how much of a difference that could make in your life. And, is it some work? Sure, it is. Do you have to go out there and make some effort? Absolutely. Is it worthwhile? Definitely. Definitely, because one deal can really be a life changer for you. So this is Bob and Ed Diamond. Hope you enjoyed today's presentation on 4900 Cedar Avenue. And if you want to see some pictures of the building, you can look on the internet. We have pictures at cedarcroftcondos.com if you want to take a look at the website that's out there.